I'm extremely glad to have such a high-powered panel out here, and I'm equally glad कि मुझे ज़्यादा कुछ बोलना नहीं है, बोलना आप लोगों को है, क्योंकि मैं तो भैया moderator हूँ, मेरा तो काम सिर्फ बुलवाना है, ठीक है? So what are we discussing today? We are discussing the future of Indian food. Where is it going? Where are we getting the new inspirations from? I covered it a little bit in my address. I just realized that it was like a kind of overlap. So, we have people from various kinds of businesses, various sizes of businesses out here. And it will be very interesting to see where do you see the food trends going. I'm going to start first with Karan. Okay, Karan, Karan needs no introduction. He has his presence across every sector of F&B business, and I'm sure he can, take sectorally. तुमको क्या लगता है मतलब कहाँ पे क्या नए trends आ रहे हैं food wise? What is your view?
Tough to answer in a very tight way because you're seeing a lot of different things happen in different parts of the business. But I think coming out of COVID, if I look at really high level, we've seen, and I'll still say subject to the last 1-2 months, which have been slightly different, but you've seen this huge uplift in consumption. I think coming out of it, people are looking to go out, spend more. So we've seen not only in frequency go up, but we're also seeing spends.
But Karan, मेरा सवाल ये है कि what are they consuming now? कुछ नया आपको बदलाव दिख रहा है कहीं पे?
So I think when we look at our business, I think there's a bit of, in terms of actually, interestingly enough, I think there was pre-COVID this whole talk of people shifting in terms of consumption of what they're eating to new items, new cuisines, fusion food, molecular gastronomy. I think we've seen, at least if you look at a lot of our businesses, and sometimes the indicator for us is actually our banqueting business, where people tend to like to experiment much more. So that tends to give us a lead indicator of how people are thinking of what's new, exciting in the market. I think you're seeing a big shift back to what's really local, what's really Indian, what really are flavors that we're used to, but done, of course, maybe with a modern flair. But I think there's a very big pullback to really what's core to our
catering or banquet mein, do you get like lots of requests for regional Indian food?
Oh, sorry?
Do you get requests for regional Indian food?
That's actually one of the
Is somebody saying litti chokha chahiye ya sarson ka maach chahiye?
So I think now the way we kind of position is you got to look at hyper-local. So I think really people are looking at something very specific to a particular city, or in some city, in some area, there's something they've had. So I think you're seeing people really pull back to, I want from Agra, from this area, I've tried this, it's unique, I want you to bring that in. So you're seeing those kind of requests really come up where people are wanting to bring those experiences. Before it would be like, I want you to do molecular gastronomy, I want Peruvian, I want something else. But really shifted in a big way back to what's Indian and what's core to us.
पहले दिखाने वाला खाना था, खाने वाला खाना आ रहा है. That's the thing. I'll come back to you because I actually want to understand where do you see this? Do you see this catering experience also moving into the dining experience? I'll come back to you on that. I'm going to come to Nitin now because Nitin and I were talking before the session and he gave me some very interesting insights. So Nitin is currently looking after 800 units of Subway spread over 120 cities. And what he told me was very interesting. Nitin, why don't you tell us about this new experiment you're doing with Subway? You only share it with the audience.
Yeah. So I'll just give the context before I respond to what Anurag said. Thanks IFF and all the esteemed panel members here. Honored to be here. I'm not a known entity as all of you guys are here. First about Culinary brands, this is Everstone Group venture, known to be in F&B business since a very long time and have had great association with the stalwarts of industry, including Karan in the past. Culinary Brands is a platform promoted by Everstone, which currently has Subway as one business and Lavazza as another business, B2C and B2B, so a whole spectrum including retail, e-commerce and all the other aspects we do as far as our coffee roasting business is concerned. Coming back to Subway, it's been 1.5 years, even though Subway exists in India, we all know for over 20 years in the complex fragmented franchise system, and it's been doing well at its own level. The reason it got the color of what Domino's had right from the beginning, or McD had, or other QSRs, was to really own the system, take the consumer experience to next level. And around 1.5 years ago is when we took over as a master franchise in the country. The mandate was to expand the network, the mandate was to consolidate the network, and most importantly, work on the menu. So as we speak,
that's where my interest lies. What exactly are you doing with the food now?
Yeah. So on the menu front, we say internally, sab badal dalenge, right? Without hurting the basic core of Subway. And the biggest challenge we had as we started is Subway in India, as well as globally, is known for health, which is the core of the value prop. And we said that QSR caters to crave as well, and therefore should Subway cater to crave without compromising on health quotient, and in fact strengthen that. And that's where we are working. We are just at 30% of our journey in terms of really reviving the whole menu, all categories. And I'm talking about a scaled version of each product, right? Coriander chutney getting into a Bombay grill is a big deal as far as a scaled business of this nature is concerned, where such products are available with the right shelf life and so on and so forth.
So you're actually getting dhania chutney into the Subway.
Yes.
And I think that basically tells you कि अभी वापस Indian जो local palate है, something which people recognize easily, is what you are bringing back in an international brand like.
Yeah, I think familiarity becomes very important. A sub called BMT has no resonation in India as against Delhi tikki grill or a hot sandwich, which is against the cold sandwich, the core of Subway, which Indians like. Hot is healthy for India, right? When we eat outside food, which is hot vada pav, that is more, we consider it as healthy, hot as liye, right? So that is one aspect which we are working on. But just to end my monologue, I think a lot of work is going on to resonate with the familiar products and the ingredients, yet give the international standard.
So essentially ये है कि international flavors जो हैं वो तो हैं, but we need to do some, if I may call it, for want of a better word, a local customization, which people can relate to. Interesting. And I think because it's a very, very natural thing to think about. Because at the end of the day, यार हम खाना बेच रहे हैं, मतलब थोड़े ना कोई brand बेच रहे हैं सिर्फ. But before you thought of doing this, McDonald already did it. I think पहला देश था जहाँ पे मकालू टिक्की शुरू हुई थी ना McDonald की. What say?
Yeah. First, actually, we are the only country which doesn't serve the global McDonald's menu. So they call it the core menu. Other than fillet of fish and chicken nuggets, we do not have any product which is a part of the global core menu.
So मेरा सवाल वैसे कुछ और था, इतना आसान सवाल नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ. आपने मकालू टिक्की तब किया था, अब अगला क्या? What's next for you?
What we are also learning about consumers, Anurag, जैसे आपने बोला, आप और मैं जब बात भी कर रहे थे कि food is memory and memory is flavors, right? So obviously it's very difficult to sell a barbecue muted flavor chicken in India. So you will have to spice it up and then add barbecue and so on and so forth. So to me, food is memory, and no matter what any brand does, I remember McChicken when we started. That was a global recipe coming out of UK, but India's McChicken had more black pepper. Indians don't believe there is black pepper inside it, but we had to tune it up to be able to do the local preferences. And no matter what we do, I think recently when we launched the McSpicy chicken, it was spicy to the bone. Now those are not things McDonald's has also heard of in the world. We have to do it in India because we realize that if we want to win in South and especially Andhra, Telangana, spice is so core to how they eat. And if you're not able to deliver on that promise, people are not going to make you regular food. So it's very important for everybody in food business to understand food is memory. And if you cannot, like Subway said, you can't become somebody else.
No, I think you're absolutely right. खाने की दो ही परिभाषा है. या तो वो स्वादिष्ट है या स्वादिष्ट नहीं है. बाकी तो सब जो है वो कहानियां हैं.
बिल्कुल.
मोटी बात तो यही है.
बिल्कुल.
सर, अब हम नहीं पहले इनके पास आएंगे तब आपके पास आएंगे. you know, Domino's, of course, I mean, nobody needs to know anything about it. It's a very well-known brand. You know, at some stage, Domino's, I mean, Jubilant also ventured into, you know, like Asian food and Indian food. And I'm sure, I'm assuming actually, not sure, that the reason was that you thought you need to get in something that resonates with the larger critical mass. How is your experience on that bit?
So you're right. I think we at Domino's want to be the neighborhood store in as many communities as we can. We are already in 400 cities, and we want to get to as many more cities as we can. And I think the core of being a neighborhood store is not only to say कि आपका store local community के बीच में बना है, but I think the flavors and the food that you serve has to also represent the local taste of the country. And I'll give you a couple of examples, and I think those are truly innovative pushes that our chef teams have done. I, for one, couldn't imagine a paratha pizza, for example, right?
What is paratha pizza?
A paratha pizza is actually a pizza in a paratha format because North Indians eat paratha.
Wow.
And
so the base is paratha?
It's almost paratha-like.
Wow.
And in the last 12 months, we've served over 500,000 paratha pizzas to our customers, right? I could not imagine a burger pizza from Domino's. It's a pizza in the form of a burger bun. So small size, with toppings in the middle and two bases, one at the bottom, one at the top. Last year, we introduced in the East something called Flavors of East. So kosher mangsho, champaran mutton,
wow.
and many such toppings-based innovations that suited local palates. And we have been very excited. And who knows, you could push this to a biryani pizza. You can have a Amritsari chole pizza, right? Like toppings give you a lot of that variety. And I think what we are trying to do, Anurag ji, is just continuously invent, test a lot with our customers, and anything that sticks with customers and is resonating well in terms of customer ratings, we then double down to say कि इसको scale कैसे करें 1900 restaurants में, which by itself is a big challenge, right? Like if you are unchained, then you can experiment because you are controlling the environment, 1 restaurant, 3 restaurants, 10 restaurants. But I think the beauty of the team at Domino's is that they've been able to do it at scale at 1900 restaurants. And I think that's a muscle that the team has built over a period of time, which should only mean well for the brand. So it's about bringing international cuisines, but then localizing them for Indian palates.
Exactly. Matlab, I am getting a very beautiful message out of what you are saying. The message is very clear. While the core of the dish could be Western, but eventually आप जिस market में बेच रहे हो आपको उसके हिसाब से तो करना ही पड़ेगा, and it's beautiful. I don't see. I think it's a very progressive step. This is recognizing your own soft power.
Yeah, and to Saurabh's point, I think spicy pizzas, which are on, like you are spicing up the pizza itself. And then on the value segment, right? Like there are people that are actually buying pizza for the first time versus a samosa or a vada pav or whatever, and being able to offer that at scale at 49 rupees with high quality cheese and toppings on top itself also takes a lot of innovation. So I think the other one is innovating for value and yet not compromising on what you stand for from a quality perspective is the other vector that we are working on. So combination of that, but we are very excited about what we are building together.
Thank you. That was interesting. I think one thing which I can very clearly see coming out of the discussion is every food service operator now realizes the value of respecting the sentiments of your local consumers and the taste buds. And I think it's a very, a very pleasant change to see. I remember 15, 20 years ago, you told a chef that, boss, mere pasta mein thoda, ye dal dena, wo dal dena. He would balk at it, he'll say, get out of my restaurant. This is how we sell our food. This is a huge paradigm shift. So next is, I'm coming to you, Sagar. Sorry. I didn't realize I was. So Sagar, you started off with something which is totally Hindustani momos. Then you went to Chinese, which I also call the Chinese that we eat out here originated from Tangda only. So you're a home ground. Now is Wow Chicken. Now Wow Chicken is by the name of it doesn't sound like something which is very desi. So are you moving on the other direction that मैं तो देसी करता था, but I think I'm also going to satiate the needs of the customers who are looking for beyond Indian?
So yeah, I think good question. But before that, like how I gave my mic to Samir, I will not give my customer to Samir, to Domino's or to a KFC or to a McDonald's. So I'm very clear about that. So I think chicken ka fascination वहीं से आया था. I personally feel that KFC, Domino's, these are all role model brands. Somewhere I felt that, KFC has taught India how to consume chicken in a fast format, in a fast food format. But how do we make chicken more fun? So from that thought, I think Wow Chicken came into our heads. Also, it came in that we felt that 70% of the Indians are 65 to 70 are non-vegetarians as per our data, because that's our consumption across the country. Or out of that, 99% or I would say 95% in a worst case scenario is eating chicken when it comes to non-veg. So kahin na kahin, I think it was more about Indianizing chicken. And if you look at our flavors, although we replicated ourselves not like a KFC, but fried chicken was there, but the grilled chicken was the tandoori chicken. And today, 53% of my menu mix is tandoori chicken. And I think it was important for me to give a look and feel of a QSR in chicken. And that's why I didn't name it Wow Fried Chicken. Initially, the thought was कि Wow Fried Chicken करते हैं, but हमने कहा कि यार इंडिया में क्या बिकता है, तंदूरी बिकता है. So we called it Wow. We called it Wow Chicken, and then tandoori chicken became one flavor. The chicken pakoras became one flavor. And today we feel that we don't really need to do what KFC is doing, because he's so big, he's so large, I can't compete with him, right? हमारा गोल था कि हमारी स्टोर साइज 1/5 होगी, रेवेन्यू 1/3 होगा, हम खुश हैं. हमको 40 लाख की रेवेन्यू नहीं करना, हम 12 लाख के रेवेन्यू में खुश हैं एक 200 स्क्वायर फीट स्टोर से. What we realize is that, and I'm just accepting the mistakes and the realization, is that initially it gave a feeling to the consumer कि हम वही कर रहे हैं जो KFC कर रहे हैं. तो आज हम कहते हैं कि यार why do we need to do the same thing? So gradually my burgers are going out and I'm bringing in kati rolls. My rice bowls are going out and I'm bringing in biryani. मतलब chicken में अगर बिरयानी नहीं डाला तो क्या डाला? So I think it remains to our core of Indianizing. It's just that we are trying to make it more a larger umbrella for chicken. Why should chicken just be fried chicken, to be honest?
No, so what is very interesting is if you look at all the big boys, the international chains, and I agree with you, we all draw inspiration from these large chains on the way they have multiplied themselves. What the bigger international chains have done, that they have adapted to the local palate, and what you're trying to do is you're picking up an international idea and you are also doing the same. You are sticking to your core that my product is going to be local. So very clearly, I think somewhere one consensus is emerging that today the Indian market is a very important market. Indian consumers are maybe very discerning, but end of the day, the familiarity matters. And that's why whatever product, whatever category you are operating in, you have to bring in that local customization.
Anurag ji, I'll just add one more thing to here. Actually, Indians don't just want local consumption for food in a localized manner. What I'm also seeing is that they want anything local which they are consuming in a different way also. So for example, if you see Korean noodles and Korean chicken and Korean flavor is not Indian flavor, right? But वो K-pop देख के, because वो Korean consume कर रहे हैं TV में, television में, especially बच्चे. So you have to give them what they are consuming, not just in food, but what they are consuming in memory, in mind. And in Wow Momo now we are launching a Korean flavor pan-fried momos. In Wow Chicken we want to do something Korean flavor because we feel K-pop culture has really come in and kids wanting it.
No, it's also one more point is the Korean food, the sauces, that taste palette resonates with Indian
Absolutely.
palate. In fact, I'll share my own experience. Couple of months ago, I started my first Mexican restaurant called Tijuana. And we did not launch it with big fanfare, but people started coming in. And one of the questions I asked everybody in my restaurant was, why do you come to a Mexican restaurant? And you know what emerged? They said the basic taste profile of Mexican food, I'm putting it in a small silo, are two: acid and heat, khatta and tikha, which resonates with Indian palate. And that is probably the reason people consume that kind of food. No, it's very, very important. You are right. I mean, whatever the trends are, because with 110 crore internet users in India, they are aware of what is happening in the world. You can't ignore that bit. Okay, now I'm going to come to the Bhishma Pitama. Okay, we have spoken to people who are operating in different segments. Here is a man who operates only high-end places. He only operates places where his APC is more important than the number of covers. Right? Amrish, what is your take on the trends that you are observing in your business?
See, trends are trends. They are here today and they go tomorrow. So you have to be very careful which trends we do, because you have to keep doing trends. But what we focus on, what my ethos is, to do generic good food well, because that's what the customer differentiates when he goes to another restaurant and he says, I want to have a butter chicken biryani. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. You have to make a Lucknowi or a Hyderabadi biryani. So if you do good stuff well, it's good. Then you add trends. And trends, as per even Karan said, are more acceptable in large banquets. Because that's where there are 500,000 people who want to say, give something different. So we picked up, we have a restaurant, the Sizzler's restaurant in Nagpur. We learned something, how they do a la minute, something like fenugreek. So we called it Nagpur Greens. So it's a stir-fry version of an Indian dish for an Indian palate. So what I'm trying to say is, while trends will come and go, we need to catch on to the core, and definitely, the generic food is where we are holding on to.
No, you are absolutely right. You can't lose your core. You can't become a laboratory. But
Correct.
you also have to understand that, when the consumer base is going up, the needs of the customers also keep changing. Like you were mentioning a little while back, that coffee ke saath mein gud kyun nahi rakha, because people are getting health conscious.
Correct. So health is a good trend. It's not a trend. Everybody's been talking about it. Subway resonates health. The point is, when we go out for dinner, we are husband and wife and kids. The kids want fried, tasty, unhealthy by choice. They don't ask for it, but that's where they gravitate towards. The wife eats healthier options in one table. The man has 2 whiskeys and then he wants to eat comfort food. So the palate is like that. It's varied. And somebody said Sagar said 60% is non-vegetarian. I think that data is those people who go out eat non-vegetarian. But generally, I think in India, it's a 50-50 or a more vegetarian base, because those people who don't go out are eating vegetarian at home.
But
generally.
it's also region to region. It's also about
Region to region, but I'm just saying across the country. So
No, but,
vegetarian is also very popular.
No, vegetarian, of course. I mean, that's more to do with the eating habit than really a trend. But as far as health food is concerned, I have a very simple funda. खाना स्वाद के लिए खाओ, स्वास्थ्य के लिए दवाइयाँ बनी हैं.
In the health food, what we don't sell it as health food. That's a miss. If you tell anybody you go out to eat healthy food, they won't eat it, because
I experimented 25 years ago with a brand called Trim with Taste, my first failure in life.
no, it won't work, because we sell our healthier options as Eat Right Chef. So if there is a cowsway that we sell, we don't change the taste of the cowsway. We add a buckwheat noodles instead of the maida noodles, or we give zoodles. So those options are easily acceptable, and that's a trend. That's an ask. That's a requirement.
Karan, you made a very important point about how banquet is almost like a laboratory which tells you what is now in vogue. Because you have a presence across everything, from a QSR to a fine dining to a casual diner to bulk catering. Do you think that these are ample indicators for you to make changes in your restaurant business?
I would not always. I think you have to be careful. Sometimes what's short-term trends versus something which is more secular, more long-term as a trend. So I think what we try to do is see if you do see something sticking on for a few years, then you might look to incorporate some of those things. But I gave the example previously of molecular gastronomy, right? I think that was something which went up as fast and came down.
नहीं बैंक्वेट में तो हमेशा से दो चीज़ होती थी कुछ चीज़ें दिखाने को molecular was that कुछ चीज़ें खाने को ये छोले कुलचे is that
Right. And so I think what we're seeing, like for example, regional Indian, I think that's something we're seeing keep growing more and more. And I think for us, what's interesting is, and if you look at banqueting, because you spoke about it, usually decision makers were the parents. They were the ones who were deciding where to have the wedding, what to serve, etc. You're seeing now, depending on community, that's shifting to where the younger or the people getting married are the ones now deciding, hey, I want to eat this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and in that shift, what's interesting, it's not only the parents who want a regional Indian, but also the younger people are looking for it. But again, done with some modern flair, done slightly differently, with some degree of innovation, maybe in terms of ingredients, presentation, etc. But you're seeing really that as a requirement across age groups as well, which is interesting.
Sagar, Sagar is busy with his phone. I think it's an important task.
नहीं बोलिए ना सर.
नहीं मैं बहुत simple सवाल था. You know, your momos always had those definitive flavors, and we have seen it over the years. Do you see a need today to bring about any significant changes to those flavors?
So sir, जैसे आपने कहा ना कि we need to reinvent from time to time. और हम अभी health का बात कर रहे थे. What I have realized is that India में health नहीं बिकता है, but perception of health बिकता है. So for example, अगर मैं उसी मोमो
Very interesting line. Health नहीं, perception of health बिकता है.
अगर मैं उसी मोमो को gluten free मोमो कर दूं, हालांकि वो बहुत हेल्दी है, बट वो इतना नहीं बिकता है. बट अगर मैं ये कहूँ, इफ आई फोकस मोर ऑन स्टीम, नो MSG, नो चिकन स्किन, हालांकि वो इतना हेल्दी नहीं है, बट वो ज़्यादा बिकता है. एंड आई एम बीइंग वेरी कैंडिड हियर, मतलब मैं एकदम सीधा बात कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे.
In my own restaurant, people talk about wafer thin pizza being very heavy. They don't even count the amount of cheese that goes on top of it.
Yeah. So, even if you talk about salads, the minute you add those sauces to it, it's all gone,
Caesar,
right?
add a Caesar dressing.
Yeah. But, sir, हमने ये देखा है कि, you need to, now it's become so much about competition where, the mindsets have changed. Like I was talking in the morning, I was like, in my small store, which has 5 tables, 10 chairs, earlier people would come wait to sit. Now, with delivery becoming a habit. So what COVID did, led the transfer to delivery maybe 5 years ahead of its time, right? And now that same consumer is consuming my Momo, but at home, in his own air conditioning, watching OTT, etc. Now, with the commission being so highly charged by aggregators, we don't really make money, right? So when we now add stuff to the menu, we have to ensure that it's healthy, tasty, affordable, but the only way we can make money is by reducing gross margins. And in doing that, you don't want to compromise on quality. Like when tomato prices went up, there was a rumor that McDonald's ने टमाटर हटा दिया, which Saurabh clarified नहीं हटाया था. But मैं अपने मोमो चटनी में टमाटर तो हटा ही नहीं सकता हूँ.
भाई वो टमाटर की बात नहीं कर रहे थे, वो अपना न्यूज़ बेच रहे थे.
So I think when such circumstances happen and you can't take up your price, I think it becomes a matter of gross margin. Now Momo is something which is my creation, it's my filling inside. Now, what can I give more tastier, which is going with the trend, and I save on gross margin? So that same veg momo, which has cabbage, carrot, beans, only cabbage, which is selling very well as a bestseller and a dazzling momo. Now, if I give a peri-peri flavor to it, now, as a flavor, peri-peri sells. But by giving that flavor, if I'm able to charge $20 extra for the same raw material, then my costs come down and I make money. So I think you have to keep adding stuff in the menu where you maintain your margins and go with the trend. So, like I said, Korean, K-pop, this came through our research. तो आई थिंक पहले ना हम अपने गट फील से काम करते थे. आजकल हम अपने रिसर्च, बिकॉज वॉल्यूम्स आर बिकम सो बिग, यू नीड टू हियर द कंज्यूमर. और अगर आप एक रिसर्च से काम करो, आप देखो कि गूगल में व्हाट आर द टॉप 3 ट्रेंडिंग वर्ड्स. तो फॉर एग्जांपल अचारी इज अ वेरी ट्रेंडिंग वर्ड, राइट? सिमिलरली आपका वो भूना चिकन आप कर दो तो ये बहुत ट्रेंड करता है ऑनलाइन में. सो आई थिंक नाउ वी आर पिकिंग अप दोज की वर्ड्स एंड नेमिंग द रेसिपी, बिकॉज ऑनलाइन सर्चेज उसकी होती हैं. आप भूना टाइप करो, आपका प्रोडक्ट आगे आ जाएगा.
No, very interesting. I think I'm told now that is running 5 minutes now. I've been told to make some profit on time as well by Anish.
I'll give you 5 minutes after I kick you off.
All right. Now, so I think, I'm going to kind of sum it up before we take one final view from everybody. I think one thing very clearly that has emerged after talking to all these stalwarts out here is that the Indian consumer now is not only demanding, but he feels it's a matter of right that I want things that are familiar to me. Just because I'm eating a pizza or a burger doesn't mean I have to eat what Americans or Europeans have been eating, which is, I think, in a very nice way, is a nice assertion to make. See, and for everybody, especially the international players will agree, India is a very, very important market and one of the fastest growing market in the world. In such a scenario, I think you can't even ignore these trends. In fact, you must embrace it. There is no reason to even trying to ignore these trends. And I think what I said in my original address before this, that I think it's time that we explore the soft power of our regional Indian food and take it not only to various categories of eateries, from a QSR to a fine dining to even bulk catering. But I think it's also a huge power lying at our disposal to take them international. Like he was talking about the Champaran meat and Kosha Mangsho. Those are the flavors which can work beautifully in most of the Latin American countries. Maybe not as much in Europe, but they will work. And I'm very sure with all the vegetarians going, your Makalu Tikki can go global now. So, because people are eating, these are the things. So, I think I think I will have the vote of everybody on the panel when I say that the regional Indian food or the localization of food is something that has emerged and is here to stay. Do we have one quick final word from every panelist before we wind it up? We have 3 more minutes.
I'll just quickly finish. I'll start that you're absolutely right. Traditionally, we've been served mutton Rogan Josh and mutton bhuna. I think it's up to us to advertise the northeastern muttons, the meat from the south, the fish from Bengal, and which are actually great regional dishes. If we have them on our menu and we do them well, I think that regional thing which you're talking about, Anurag, is here to stay.
Lovely. Karan.
I guess, I'm guessing a lot of people in the audience might be people looking to start something in the food business as well. So generally my kind of rule of thumb, because a lot of people I think go with the idea based on what you see in the media, what people are talking about. I think sometimes you need to do a layer deeper in terms of research. So I think when you're looking at trends, don't generally just go by what you're reading in the papers as a trend which is here to stay, and kind of spend the time to figure out, is this something that will sustain over the next, not 5 years or even 10 years, but really when you're building for the next 20, 30 years. So I think that's just important as a first step.
Lovely, lovely. I would not like to end this session without giving credit to the supply chain ecosystem, which
Absolutely.
20 years ago hardly existed, and Saurabh would reckon with it, Sameer would reckon with it, especially for QSR. And today that ecosystem is so well developed that every vendor of us have their own innovation team, which supports this alignment to Indian consumer needs. So pretty easy from the past days what we have.
No,
been
100%.
into.
I think this is one of the biggest positive developments that has happened. The supply chain has really improved. Sameer, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just keep this short. I think 3 cheers for the spirit of innovation and being consumer first. And I think trends notwithstanding, it feels like it's the right step as you continue to hyper-localize it. It can only yield long-term results as consumers eat out a lot more. So very excited about what the future holds, and very confident that this is a very vibrant ecosystem. So delighted to be part of the conversation.
Thank you.
From my standpoint also, I think I resonate with whatever everybody has said. The most important thing to me is, and people should be wary of, while we are talking about flavors, we cannot go off our core. Who you are is most important. And then like Sagar said, you add piri-piri to it. On a regular occasion, you're able to charge $20. That's how you make businesses work. That's how you make flavors stick. And tomorrow it might be a regular product, a whole wheat bun, for example. So don't try to do too many things together, because that never works in business in India. So that's the only red
Don't
flag.
lose your core is your message. Yeah.
I think I'll pick a leaf from Nitin's, what he said, and I'll just say that I think I really want to thank brands like McDonald's, KFC, Domino's, Subway for, running QSR over years, because I just got a commercial DD done from one of my investors, and one thing that came out is that maybe we were slightly ahead of where they were because we had people from them who've been there, done that. So in a way, they've become an institute, or they've become that talent pool from where you can just take and now do. So I think the current ecosystem is at its peak. It's the best time to get into this space if you want to, because you have professionals who are experienced and the supply chain is also picked up. So I think इससे better time हमारे country में नहीं हो सकता है, where your SCM vendors are willing to innovate for you. They have their own labs. You have talent pool coming in. So I think it's now about doing the right things. And I always say, keep things simple. We are talking so much about trends, but मतलब मजाक से मैं बोलता हूँ यार, ट्रेंड हमेशा रिलायंस के पास ही रहेगा, रिलायंस ट्रेंड ही चलेगा, बाकी सब ट्रेंड्स बदलता रहेगा. तो I think it's very Karan rightly said, be very realistic, because what you see in social media is more of reels. What you see in reality is not real, it's real.
Thank you everyone, Amrish, Karan, Nitin, Sameer, Saurabh and Sagar for your wonderful insights. And I can very safely say the vocal for local thing is applying to our trade as well. Thank you so very much, everyone.